Hello everyone and welcome back. I am super excited for week 3 because week 3 is all about understanding yourself on a deeper level. And this is when we start to tie in healing our relationship with food. And that is what this entire workshop is going to be about today. And so I invite you to grab a pen, grab a paper, set up your little spiritual place, make it comforting, light a candle. I have mine lit right here. I always light a candle. Love the way it smells and how it makes me feel. But I just invite you to be here right now and to get in this place of love and compassion. It's very easy for us to kind of just be running through our day all the time, and it's hard sometimes to create a sacred space for yourself, right? So make that space, pause this video if you need to, just so you can take some time to really create this moment for yourself. So we are going to be talking about, like I just said before, healing your relationship with food. So before we can go on and heal it, we have to understand where you're currently at and how these patterns have come about. So I like to say, like, when we are born with a blank slate. Like, we are a fresh book, empty book, no words in it. And we are like a sponge when we come into this world, right? And just taking everything in. And for instance, those pages start to get filled. However, majority of that time, those pages that are filled, especially in our early years, they're not even our own dialogue. They're the dialogue from the people around us, like our friends, our family, our teachers, our loved ones. And then in turn, based on society, we start to view ourselves differently. And this is where our entire persona gets created and the way we view ourselves in life, when in reality, it may not even be truly true to you. So before we can go ahead and heal the relationship with food, we have to start peeling back some layers like an onion and getting rid of these things that we may even not even realize that they were there until right now. So I invite you to grab your pen and your paper, and we're going to dig into it with some questions. And again, this is really just to get you thinking, to get you feeling, and to get you back into your body and honoring that little girl or that little boy who just really didn't know better and took on way too much, and to finally respect it, but also to create anew. So question number 1, what was your relationship with food as a child? Now again, it's super important that we take a look at this because over the years, our way of looking at food and how we view ourselves has come from all these different chapters in our life. So the way in which I want you to answer this question is if you could just take a look as like each section as like a chapter of your life. So what was going on during, let's just say, elementary school? Like, how were you feeling about food then? If you could recall it, and I really want you to think, and sometimes even putting yourself back in that situation, in that position, can help some emotions come up. So were you the one who was bringing your lunch to school? Or maybe you were sitting with some new friends and sharing food? Or were you just getting used to the cafeteria? Like, what was going on then, and what were some emotions that were coming up? And then we can look at middle school. Now, middle school is always a very interesting moment, and I've noticed that through the years of helping people with healing their relationship, this is where we start to make a lot of things mean certain things. And what I mean by that is because around this time period is where our hormones start to go crazy, and we can start seeing how this is typically the time when we start shaming our body. Like, I remember for the first time where I was at my friend's house and we were getting ready to go to a dance, and I remember looking in the mirror and I realized my eyebrows for like the first time. and how before that I never realized like that they were like bushy, and then all of a sudden I realized that they were, and I was like, ew, what is that? And then I remember, and the reason why I thought that was because I remember hearing another girl making fun of a girl for having bushy eyebrows, and I come home and I'm like, oh my gosh, my eyebrows. But I know that we're kind of off topic right here, but to bring it back to food, like during this time period is when we start to really judge ourselves. So was there any moments in middle school where you started to feel like you were judging yourself? And then coming into high school, how did you feel about food then? Were you someone who would stay in the cafeteria, or would you go out to eat, or would you bring a lunch? And what was your internal dialogue happening at that time? And then I just want to stop from there, and I kind of want to, you can pause this as you go through it, but I kind of just want to rewind and go back to when we were really young. So did you ever recall any of your family members kind of saying different sentences to you of, you have to finish your food, or you can't leave the table until your meal is finished? Because that too shapes a lot based on who we are today and our beliefs and our relationship with food. So what were the people around you saying? Was it helpful? Was it not so helpful? Did it make you feel a certain way? Do you remember like really having to eat everything and feeling so overly full after? Sebastian has a wonderful example for this. So he grew up in Colombia, and food was, very scarce. So now to this day, his parents have always an abundant amount of food, like you could imagine. But it's almost like disrespectful if you don't finish your food. So now he kind of goes through life always wanting to finish the food regardless of how full he is. And I always think that's a beautiful, beautiful gesture. However, I always like to say that our body is not a garbage can. So just be mindful of what things your parents or the people around you are saying, and if that's showing up right now. We just took a look down memory lane. I want you to take a look at your current relationship with food. And in a few words, just describe what it is. And I actually got this from a seminar that I went to, and it had nothing to do with eating. It had all to do with finances. And they asked me, like, Lauren, what's your relationship with finances? And I was like, well, abusive and not loving, harmful. And that just started to really make me realize, well, if it's happening in one area, it might be happening in another area. And little did I realize, like, my same relationship with finances was also bleeding into my relationship with food. Now, this doesn't have to be for everyone. However, I just noticed this correlation for myself. So to kind of come back to it, so what is your relationship with food in just like a few words? Is it loving? Is it caring? Is it abundant? Is it abusive? Is it harmful? Is it destructive? Like, being able to put actual words on it allows us to see it exactly for what it is. And do you have any correlations from your past experiences playing in the current experience? For instance, are you like Sebastian, who walks around trying to finish everyone's plate because food is scarce? Or do you hear yourself saying like, oh no, don't eat that because, my grandmother's going to judge me for it? It's once when we can start wrapping our head around these voices that are constantly playing in our head, that's when we could actually be conscious of them and then go about healing them. Because once when we're aware of it, then you have the choice to make the opposite decision. When you aren't aware of it, you're just subconsciously going through your life, living out these ways. So it's taking a step back, it's realizing, okay, wow, my relationship with food was like this. Now it's like this. And now the best question is, what kind of relationship with food would you want? And again, you can pause this video, and I just want you to keep writing. Like, what would the best relationship with food look like? Would it be one that is super loving, where you would sit down with your food and actually honor it and like pray with it and thank it? Would it be one where you are at a family party and you feel confident in being able to only have one plate instead of a few different plates? Would it be a relationship where you're super in tune with your body and you know exactly what it needs? Would it be a relationship where there is no shame or guilt? Like, really just start to have fun with this exercise and explore, because it's funny how we sometimes think. We think that, wow, I don't have a great relationship with food, or like, I'm just feeling really stuck in this area. But then we don't use our God-given gift of dreaming and visualizing what we really want. To take this time and to really have fun with this and really start to explore this possibility of you being and having a new relationship with food. Because now, once when we're starting to be aware of it, in this next video, I'm going to teach you how to actually step into that being. So go ahead and you can go back to this video at any other point and take little things, because once when you become mindful about your past, your present, and then your future, that is when you can really heal your relationship with food.